I had to catch the last train. It was 11:58 p.m., and the station was nearly empty. Just a few people scattered around, their faces hidden in shadows, bodies slouched over in tiredness. I could hear the faint sound of rain against the station's roof, a light drizzle that barely made a sound. The train station itself was old enough to smell of dust, wet wood, and decay. I've passed through it 100 times before, but tonight it felt different. The air was heavier, thicker, with something I couldn't quite place. The platform was almost deserted save for one figure sitting on a bench, an old man hunched over with a worn-out book, his face hidden beneath the hood of his jacket. His fingers trembled as he turned the page. But that wasn't the strangest part. The strangest part was the complete silence around him. There was something wrong with the stillness. No sound of footsteps, no train announcements, nothing. The train was running late, which wasn't unusual for this station. They always ran late. But tonight, it felt as if time itself was dragging its feet. As I stared at the clock, now 12:05 a.m., I noticed the silence deepening. Then I heard it. The unmistakable sound of wheels on tracks. The train was coming. I stood up ready to board, but as I walked to the edge of the platform, I noticed something strange. 1 second, he was sitting there, hunched over, reading. The next, he was gone. I glanced around, but he was nowhere to be seen. Maybe he went to catch the train, I thought, so I shrugged it off and stepped onto the train as it pulled into the station. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and I walked down the narrow aisle. The train was nearly empty. Only a few tired faces were scattered across the seats, their heads leaning against the windows, eyes closed in deep exhaustion. I found an empty seat near the window and settled in, staring out as the city lights blurred by. The train began moving, the world outside becoming a streak of shadows and lights. I let out a sigh of relief. Finally, I could relax. That's when I saw it, a reflection in the glass. At first I thought it was just the train lights playing tricks on me, but the more I stared, the more I realized. Someone was standing directly behind me, close enough that I could feel their presence. I turned quickly, but there was no one. Just empty seats and the quiet hum of the train. I looked back at the window and the reflection was gone, or maybe it never was there to begin with. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, a trick of the light. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I leaned back in my seat trying to calm myself, but that's when I heard it, voice low, soft, so close it almost seemed to be coming from inside my own head. I didn't leave. I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I turned again, searching for any sign of movement. There was nothing. The train was still. The other passengers were either asleep or staring blankly out of their own windows. I couldn't breathe. The air felt thick. My chest tightened. I stood up, needing to move. I walked down the aisle toward the front of the train, hoping to find the conductor, or at least someone who could explain what was happening. But as I got closer to the door leading to the front cabin, I realized it was locked. I knocked. No answer. The silence was suffocating. The train lurched suddenly, making me stumble, and I looked out the window. The city lights, the streets, the buildings, they were all fading away. We weren't in the city anymore. At 12:15 a.m., the train came to an abrupt stop. No warning, no announcement. The lights flickered once, then died. Complete darkness. I felt my way back down the aisle, my heart pounding in my ears. My hands trembled as I reached for the light switch, but nothing happened. I pulled at the door. Locked. The air in the train felt colder now, almost freezing. I could see my breath in the dark. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Dragging along the floor. I couldn't see anything, but the sound grew closer, echoing down the aisle. My pulse raced. Backed up, inching toward the rear of the train, but my legs felt like they were made of lead. Then the voice came again, clear as day. You shouldn't have gotten on. I spun around. The man from the station. The one who had been sitting on the bench, who was standing at the end of the aisle, his face still hidden beneath the hood of his jacket. But I could see his hands now, covered in dark stains. The sleeves of his jacket were torn, revealing pale, mottled skin. He took a step forward. I could feel the floor trembling beneath me. The last train is always the one you can never leave. I tried to scream, but my voice was caught in my throat. My legs were frozen. The train door slammed shut behind me. The man reached out, his hand twisted in an unnatural way, his fingers long and claw-like. But then, with a sudden jerk, the train lurched forward again. I looked out the window. The city was gone. There were no more buildings, no more streets. Just endless blackness. As I stared into the void outside, I realized that we weren't going anywhere, not to a destination. This train was only ever meant to take one place. Nowhere.